wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, inshallah, we continue with the hadith lesson, and today we will be talking about a hadith that is narrated by our usual author in this lesson. We've always discussed quotes or hadiths narrated by a person named Abdullah ibn Mubarak, and we also discussed some of the stuff that he wrote in his books. Today we're going to discuss a hadith, and we're going to talk about a hadith that he narrated from someone named Abdullah ibn Mas, which we also read a lot of hadiths that are narrated by him. The hadith that Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was talking about is an authentic hadith, and it specifically talks about seeing Allah Azza wa Jal at the Day of Judgment. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud says in this hadith that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that each one of us, every creation of Allah Azza wa Jal will be alone with Allah Azza wa Jal at the Day of Judgment. You will meet with Allah Azza wa Jal, and you will have a conversation with Allah Azza wa Jal if He allows you, and you will be alone with Him as a person is alone with the moon at night. Obviously, in this situation, Allah Azza wa Jal is with everyone at the Day of Judgment. Each one of His creations is present there. And when you are at night and you're looking at the moon, you're practically not alone with the moon. Everyone else can see it. But in this situation, from your perspective, you are alone with Him. And that is what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is describing. And in another hadith that talks about something similar, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was sitting with his companions, and he was looking at the moon when it was at a crescent phase. It was a crescent moon at that phase. And he told his companions that each one of us will see Allah Azza wa Jalla the same way that we see the moon right now in its phase. There will be nothing blocking us from seeing Allah Azza wa Jalla. If we enter heaven, we will see His face as it is. And in the Quran, there is a verse that talks about the people who did good, the people who enter heaven. It says, وَالَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا الْحُسْنَى وَزِيَادَةً. For those who have done good, they will receive good and they will receive better. What Allah Azza wa Jalla was talking about when He said they will receive the good and better, they will receive the good, meaning heaven, and they will receive better, they will see the face of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And in a qira'ah, in a narration that isn't an authentic narration, it talks about Allah Azza wa Jalla, and it talks about the lives of the people in heaven, and instead of like usual qira'at, it says, وَمُلْكًا كَبِيرًا, you will see higher power, meaning the power of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Yeah. In the narration that isn't authentic, it says وَمَلِكًا كَبِيرًا, and a high king or a powerful king, describing Allah Azza wa Jalla. What the theme that we collect from these verses and from these hadiths is that as Muslims we have to believe that we will eventually meet Allah Azza wa Jalla. Either at the Day of Judgment, we will be judged by Him, we will be judged at every action that we did at the Day of Judgment, or we will see the day, we will see the face of Allah Azza wa Jalla in heaven, inshallah. In a hadith narrated by multiple Muslim scholars, and an idea that a lot of Muslim scholars agree with, that people in heaven won't feel or won't experience or won't have anything that is better than seeing the face of Allah Azza wa Jalla. It is obvious that not everyone, not every single creation of Allah Azza wa Jalla will be allowed to see Him or will be allowed to meet Him. Allah Azza wa Jalla has said multiple times in the Quran that there are some people, heavy sinners, committed major sins, that Allah Azza wa Jalla will really just ignore. He won't judge them at the Day of Judgment. They will be straight up thrown into hell without being talked to, without being judged. They deserve to be there without a conversation. And there are some people who will be judged by Allah Azza wa Jalla, and they will talk to Him without the need of a translator. And there are people who will see the face of Allah Azza wa Jalla at the Day of Judgment, and they will meet Him and see Him at heaven. A popular hadith, which is an authentic hadith narrated by multiple Muslim scholars, is that at the day, finally after the Day of Judgment, when the people of heavens, the believers, the Muslims are sitting in Jannah, they're having fun, they're playing around, they're enjoying their time. Out of the sudden, a really big light, a really powerful light emerges. And that light annoys them. You know when someone gets a flashlight into your face, it annoys you, it annoys your eyes, and it burns them. That light annoys them, but it turns out that it is Allah Azza wa Jal. And if it wasn't for the fact that now the people of Jannah are immortal, they would have died, they would have burned up from the light of Allah Azza wa Jal. But Allah Azza wa Jal asked them, are you yet pleased? Are you yet convinced with what you have now? And they will answer Allah Azza wa Jal, and they will tell Him that why are we not going to be pleased? Why are we not going to be happy with what we have? We've been judged for all of the sins that we have no sins on us. we're now immortal, we're now in heaven. This is eternal happiness. Why would we not be convinced with what we have? But Allah Azza wa Jalla will tell them that there's still one thing yet, and Allah Azza wa Jalla shows them His face. And if it wasn't for the fact that they are immortal now, they would have burned up from just the details of the face of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Muslim scholars in total have agreed that Muslims will not experience anything better than this. لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا الْحُسْنَى وَزِيَادَةً. They will receive what is good, which is heaven, and they will receive what is better on the face of Allah Azza wa Jalla. It is a base of Muslim belief that we will eventually meet Allah Azza wa Jalla, or we will see the face of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And it is narrated by the companions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it is agreed upon by all of Muslim scholars that we will talk to Allah Azza wa Jalla if we get this chance to, without the need of a translator. A hadith narrated by a companion of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his name is Adi ibn Hatim al-Ta'i. The hadith that he was narrating is that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that we will talk to Allah Azza wa Jalla, and we will talk to Him without the need of a translator. And multiple hadiths narrated about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that talks about the interaction between us and Allah Azza wa Jalla, the day of judgment. The servant, basically the person, would talk to Allah Azza wa Jalla, and Allah Azza wa Jalla would tell him, wasn't it I who was watching over your eye while you were looking at something that displeased me? Basically, while you were watching over sins with your eye. And Abdullah ibn Mubarak discusses this hadith, and he says that Allah Azza wa Jalla will list out all of your organs and all of your limbs, and He will say, wasn't I the one watching over this when you were doing this? Wasn't I watching over your limbs when you used them for sins? Wasn't I watching over this organ when you used it for sin? And Allah Azza wa Jalla will list out every single part of your body. And in a hadith narrated about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is that one day when he was sitting with his companions, he started laughing about something that was revealed to him. And he asked them, do you have any idea of what I'm laughing on right now? And they told him, no, it is Allah Azza wa Jalla and His Prophet that probably know this. And he told them that at the day of judgment, when a person is being judged for his sins, he will disagree on the judgment of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and he will say, I won't accept a witness that isn't from me. He will only accept himself as a witness. And Allah Azza wa Jalla will respond that He is the only valuable witness in here. It is Himself that sinned. So Allah Azza wa Jalla will cover up His mouth, He will not be able to talk, and Allah Azza wa Jalla will tell His organs and His limbs to speak. Has He done this action? Has He done this action? And all of them will agree to the judgment of Allah Azza wa Jalla. This servant, this person will curse his entire body, his organs and his limbs, because it is what he was fighting for his entire life. He was fighting for his own health and his own safety. He will curse them at the day of judgment because it was what he was fighting for, yet at the day of judgment they didn't stand at his side.